Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, coming to you live from SmartCon in New York City. Joining us for this segment, we have Aaron Schnarch. He is founder and executive director of the Compound Foundation. We're here to discuss infrastructure and standards that are most important to earn institutional trust in DeFi. It is great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about DeFi. It continues to evolve rapidly. What do you think is driving the next phase of the industry adoption and its growth?
Yes, absolutely. So first, maybe for the folks who are listening and watching us, as we think about decentralized finance, something that Compound coined with some peers about 8 years ago, we're talking about two different parties that may not even know each other, and they have the opportunity to borrow or earn using something called a smart contract in the middle. So in traditional finance, you would have there a bank. And in DeFi, what you have is just a piece of technology. So that's just like for context. And I think this has been super successful for what I would say are the crypto natives, people that grew into it. They know how to navigate the technology. They've been benefiting with that, and that's great. I think as you look about the next phase of evolution, we're talking about mass adoption. You know, the notion of Compound, the ethos of what brought us here was easy enough for our parents to use. And I don't know if other households, in my household, my mom doesn't know how to use this thing. So I think our opportunity would be to partner with the fintechs, with the banks, with the new banks to unlock that at scale.
Yeah, well, I just think it means understanding your audience and finding the problems that they need to solve. So, I mean, whether you're talking to policymakers, educators, technologists, reporters, I mean, there's always going to be a way to communicate to different audiences to get their buy-in and to understand it. From a more technical perspective, as institutions adopt DeFi, what infrastructure or standards are most important to earn their trust?
Absolutely. So my heritage is actually traditional finance. I spent a dozen years there, so I think I understand the sentiment of the board and the decision makers, and more recently have been CEO of Coinbase Custody and CEO of Incridge. So you think about those standards, I think it boils down to having the right risk and audit frameworks that would allow people to get comfortable with the technology. So, take market events. We had something just this week or last October where we would have a lot of tumultuous activity and abnormal volatility. Some of the peers have not been performant, and there's been bad debt. With a Compound, as an example, you had cumulatively hundreds of billions of dollars of processed loans with zero bad debt. So I think that is the first one. I think the second one would be getting comfortable with identity management. And that is something that is very well understood by traditional finance folks. But I think the elegant solution here could really be form a partnership and use the benefit of the technology stack in the back. And that would be an elegant way of approaching mass adoption.
So the Compound Foundation, your model is really designed to accelerate development. How do you think that will strengthen the community and continue to drive DeFi adoption?
Absolutely. So look, Compound was formed and ran in the United States of America, which was fantastic. And as we all know, over the last few years, crypto projects based in the United States had a little bit of a hard time. And Compound was of no exception. And there's been a period of lack of strategic direction. And we had offshore peers that gained momentum and entered that void. I think things are looking very different. And we're now proudly based out of Delaware in the United States. We have inbounds from international players, from local players that are looking to form partnerships and relationships. We are the first protocol around decentralized finance. And so you should expect us to keep on and iterate on innovation. We're hard at work already working on tokenized equities and something that we call a V4. And that's going to be the next leg of evolution for us.
So that's really the milestone that you're looking to achieve as you think about protocols like Compound. But what about DeFi more broadly? Like, how do you quantify and measure success as you look the next couple of years out?
Right, absolutely. So look, I often am at universities, speak with the next leaders across MBAs, technology, etc. And I always ask those 5 questions just to contextualize the discussion. The first question is, have you ever bought a Bitcoin? And many hands are going to be up. By the time you ask a question such as, have you supplied liquidity to liquidity pool? Eyes glare and people just look at me. And we're talking about the future leaders. I think as industry, we have a lot of work to do to make this very well understood and accessible. And so I think DeFi had incredible staying power over the last 6, 7, 8 years, but never really scaled. So it's on us to make this super simple. Think maybe Amazon, where you can do one click just to buy something. there isn't any reason why it shouldn't be one-click lending when we speak about DeFi. And that's where we're trying to get.
See, and I think it's great that you're working with universities in that context because you don't necessarily have to be a developer, an engineer, a comp sci major, right, to be part of the digital asset ecosystem. You
Yes.
you can report on it, be, policy, advocacy, product development. I mean, it's growing to a size now where it's not just for technologists, which is encouraging.
Yes, yes, absolutely, Jill. The longer I am in these industries, I relent to plain English, simple stuff. So I have the utmost respect to those who can navigate the complexity of decentralized applications and self-identity and all those things. That's great. I think there is a world for that, but mass adoption is going to come from the billions. And for that standard, we need this to be very, very simple.
Right. Appreciate the insight, Aaron. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me from SmartCon. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.